Hey guys, it's Mia, and in today's video we're going to be talking about my story of how I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Okay, so I was diagnosed on the 23rd of September 2014. I was in year 2 and I was 7 and nearly 8 years old. I had felt sick for about 2 to 4 weeks, but in the week I was diagnosed, you could really start to see that I was unwell. I looked really pale, I had lost weight, I was drinking heaps of water, I was tired, and these are the symptoms that you might have type 1 diabetes. A symptom that I did not show was going to the toilet a lot, but that is another symptom that you have type 1. So on the day that I had got diagnosed, I was staying home pretty much that whole week because I was feeling unwell, and mum and dad just thought it would pass or I was just sick with something. So I went to school on the day I got diagnosed because I had school photos and I didn't want to miss that. So I went to school for school photos, and then after that I still felt bad, so I asked my grandparents to come pick me up. So I stayed at their house for the rest of the day, and then probably 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my mum asked how I was doing on the phone, and I described it to her as I felt like I was sprinting in a race. My heart was racing, I was breathing really heavily, and I just felt really sick. So mum decided to take me to the doctors that afternoon. So about 4 or 5 o'clock, we went to the doctors, and I pretty much screamed because I've always hated needles, and I had to have, a little finger prick, which now I'm very used to. But anyway, so they gave me a finger prick. My level was around 21, 22.0, and then the doctor was like, you have type 1 diabetes. His daughter also had type 1 diabetes, so he knew what he was talking about. And he was able to help us and explain what it was. My mum had no idea what it was at the time, neither did I. Keep in mind, 2014, many people did not know what type 1 diabetes was compared to now, where majority of people do know what diabetes is, more type 2, but more people are learning about what type 1 is now. So on with the story. He said, you're going to have to go down to the hospital because she has type 1 diabetes. My mum was worried, she didn't know what it was. He explained it, I started to freak out because I didn't know what it was either. So mum drove me down to the hospital. I went straight into emergency, and they had to give me a blood test and put me on a drip because I was very dehydrated. So when they put me on the drip, that was all fine. The blood test did not go so well. They missed the vein, and then they had to do it again, and blood went all over the bed, and it was not a nice experience. Since then, I've been really scared of blood tests and a bit traumatized by it, until this year I did have my first blood test. I think it was 7 years. Yep, 7 years after I was diagnosed. So it has been a long time, but I did it, and I've now had 2 blood tests this year. So that is really good progress for me, and I'm really proud of myself. So they put me on the blood test, they did blood test, they put me on the drip, then I went into the children's ward. I stayed there for 4 days. My mum stayed with me, and just stayed in hospital, watching TV, colouring in, and then I got heaps of gifts from people hoping that I was okay and looking out for me. I got a big card from my class at school saying, hope you feel better soon. But over all that, my mum and all my family were really supportive. My mum stayed with me during the hospital, apart from one night, which my grandma came and stayed with me. I know I got a little diabetes bear that helped me a lot. It was sort of just really comforting to have just a little teddy bear that sort of gave me that support. It was there for me. And the bear was called Ruby, and it's like a diabetes bear that they used to, I don't know if they do anymore, give to people that had type 1 diabetes where I live. So yeah, the doctors came in, taught me how to do finger pricks. I was doing the finger pricks myself. My mum and stuff were doing the injections in my tummy because I was too scared to do them. And then a couple years later, I learned how to do them myself. Probably about a year later, I learned how to do them myself, and then I moved on to the insulin pump, which I do the cannulas myself now. But I was staying in hospital for 4 days. It was a very big new experience. I still looked very sick, but you could see colour was starting to come back to my face. The biggest, hardest thing for me was learning what to do. So I was just this, innocent kid, didn't know what to do with anything, just enjoying life, which I still am. But when I got diagnosed, there was this whole part of responsibility I had to carry now, and I had to become mature because I have to, control my blood sugar levels, correct if I'm high, inject myself when I need to eat food, prick myself, and have sugar when I'm low. So that was really hard. So also the nurses were really supportive over this time as well. I remember the first night I was in the children's ward, there had to be a nurse at the door at all times. So they were just, standing guard at my door if I needed anything, in case something happened, in case I went high, because they knew how to monitor everything at the time better than me and my mum. But my dad and my brother came, checked up on me, gave me some clothes and a pillow, a comfy pillow, so I could have more of a comfortable stay at the hospital. And then after the first night, the nurse wasn't guarded at the door, but they were just around if I needed them. So yeah, that was really good. So all of my family was super supportive, and it was much of a learning experience for them than for me, because they also had to learn about everything else as well. And because I was diagnosed at a young age, 7, also my parents and my grandparents also had to learn how to do many other stuff, because at the time when I went back to school, my mum, my grandpa and my grandma, I think it was, were doing my injections when I didn't do them myself. But yeah, after 4 days I got taken out of hospital, I went back to school. Obviously, I think we explained to the class what had happened, what type 1 diabetes is. And a very good thing is my homeroom teachers were really supportive as well. And yeah, so then a couple months after I was diagnosed, or it might have been the next year, there's this thing called the JDRF1 walk. So it's where you raise money and then you walk probably 3-4 Ks to raise money for type 1 diabetes. So that happens once a year, hasn't the last 2 years or something because of COVID. But they've sort of made alternative options that you can do. So I found this experience really fun. You invited friends, family to come on the walk with you, raise money, and then you come back and there's a bouncy castle, rock climbing, face painting, heaps of other stuff, and then there's just a band and stuff. It's just a really great day, and it's also a really great day to meet other people with type 1 diabetes. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. But obviously everyone's stories are different. Some people might have had an easier transition into type 1 because they might have had another family member with it, or it just might have been a very bad experience and very traumatic. I would say my experience was in the middle. It wasn't really bad, it wasn't good. But yeah, I was the only person in my family with type 1 diabetes. I think it was my great-grandpa, or my great-great-grandpa, I think it was great-grandpa or something like that. He actually had type 1 diabetes as well, but he was no longer alive when I was born or when I got diagnosed. So I didn't know. But a month after I was diagnosed or something like that, my great auntie actually got type 1. She got it very, quite late in life, probably about her 60s or late 50s. So, yeah, she didn't really know what to do either, but yeah, she had to adapt to it right after I did. And very recently, my mum's cousin and my second cousin's dad, he just got type 1 diabetes as well. So now we've got about 3 people in the family with type 1. So I was the first, but now I'm the first of many. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have a type 1 diabetes story that you would like to share, please put it down in the comments. Or if you have any questions about my story, please also put it down in the comments. I hope you guys have a really good Christmas, so Merry Christmas. And if I don't upload a video before New Year's, also have a Happy New Year.